How are you different than a snake oil salesman? You have no medical background. There's no evidence of the substance. It hasn't been tested in animals or humans.
How are you different than a snake oil salesman? Those were the words of Anderson Cooper to Mike Lindell. He's a Trump friend, and he's known as the My Pillow guy, Tucker Carlson's biggest sponsor. And he's been touting this false, unproven, unbacked by science and medical professional cure to the current crisis we're dealing with, and there's no basis to it. And so what Anderson Cooper basically said there is, you have no medical training, you're not backed by anybody with significant medical training. How are you different than someone trying to sell snake oil to the public that's desperate for a solution, but obviously needs something that works, not gives them false confidence? And I think Anderson Cooper was right to basically have Lindell on to totally, absolutely dispatch him in this interview. I'm going to play you a second part of the interview earlier on where he basically does the same thing, pointing out that there's no studies, and that if there are studies that Lindell is bragging about, saying that initial testing is, positive about this cure for the crisis that Trump is enthusiastic about, if that does exist, he's been unwilling to share it despite the fact that he says he is willing. And I want to play you that clip.
Sir, you said you've seen this test. Where is it?
The tests are out there. The 1,000 people, phase 1 and phase 2.
Where is the test? Show it to us.
I don't have the
name
test
where it's from. Who did the test? What university? What doctor?
It works for everybody.
Okay, so just for our viewers, you have no medical background. You're not a scientist. A guy called you in April, said he had this product. You are now on the board and going to make money from the sale of this product. The reason he reached out to you is because you have the ear of the president, so he gets a meeting with the president, and you stand to make money from this. How do you sleep at night?
So that was Anderson Cooper. Again, fantastic interview. This reminds me of the time he interviewed the Las Vegas mayor, who basically said that she wanted to make Las Vegas a testing zone for the crisis. Let's reopen Las Vegas, fully reopen it, and see what happens. And Anderson Cooper basically called her insane, basically called her absurd, that she was risking the lives of her citizens, of her people, and everyone who visited just because she wanted the casinos and stuff to reopen. Human life be damned. And Anderson Cooper's response to her there, totally, in just a couple minutes really, absolutely invalidated her argument. And I think that's what he's doing here. He's bringing on somebody that, yes, is touting mis and disinformation about this current crisis we're dealing with and how to solve it. And that is dangerous. That is dangerous to give people like that a platform. But if in giving them a platform, you utterly embarrass and invalidate them, I think you've done a service. And this is one of the things we've been seeing more and more as journalists have become used to doing journalism in the Trump era. You can't ignore Donald Trump because he'll just go directly to his people with the internet and with social media, with his Twitter account that's got dozens of millions of followers. He can get to them directly. You can't really filter that. But by doing interviews and confronting them and exposing their lies and misinformation and disinformation and their opinion that they masquerade as fact, you can actually do a real service. And that's why the Jonathan Swan interview with Trump, and that's why the Chris Wallace interview with Trump were so devastating. Because whenever somebody took the time to ask him, "Sir, you're saying this, but where's the proof about what you're saying?" And then all you had to do was watch Trump squirm. He just squirmed and squirmed and squirmed, or yelled and yelled and yelled, or deflected and deflected and deflected. And he looked even worse than he normally did. And so whether it's the Las Vegas mayor, or whether it's Donald Trump, or whether it's the My Pillow, Tucker Carlson's biggest sponsor guy, pretty much the only major sponsor left for Tucker Carlson on Fox News, whether it's any of those things, having these people on and exposing their weaknesses and lies is a public service. And you know me, I'm not a huge fan of mainstream media because I feel they have an anti-progressive bias. I feel they have a bias against people like Bernie. I feel they have a bias against workers and against unions and against economic equality. But Anderson Cooper at times does really fantastic interviews. He gives great interviews to Cornel West and lets an expert and a philosopher and just a great orator like Cornel West take the reins, and he sort of assists that. But when it's time to get down to brass tacks and hold a liar to account, Anderson Cooper's been growing and growing and growing, in my mind at least, as a quality interviewer. More of this, please, because the only way you're going to shut down misinformation and disinformation is by doing it with pointed, direct, unceasing questioning. Anything else, and they'll keep getting away with it.